I just dropped my friend off at the airport who had been visiting for a week, and I am sad. It's Wife Strut Wednesday, ladies, and I'm here to talk about people visiting your house. So like I said, I just dropped my friend off at the airport. She was in from Massachusetts. I always say that word wrong. Massachusetts. I always want to say Massachusetts, but Massachusetts. There we go. I almost need to clap it out. Anyway, so my friend was in visiting and I haven't seen her in so long. We've been friends since 2008, 11 years, a long freaking friendship. We met in grad school and she showed up like, hi, my name is Dana. And I was like, what's up, girl? And I judged the hell out of her and I was like, I don't know what Dana's deal is. She's so square, such a prep. And she was like, she's such a bitch. But anyway, long-standing friendship, and I haven't seen her probably in 5 years. So I think that goodbyes are always hard. We've had such a great week and we didn't even do anything. Like, I think for me, I've always looked for things in people, which is the people who I don't have to do anything with. Hear that airplane? It's like I live underneath a freaking fly zone. Not really. But anyway, I've always looked for like people who don't have a problem with silence, people who don't need to fill every space with words, and people who I can just be around without having to do something, right? You know, the people that you have to like go do things, or like you'll have to have an activity and that's what is y'all's interactions, the activity that you have in common. But then there's the people who like you just have things in common with and you just vibe with each other and you don't have to show up any kind of way. You can just be yourself, and that for me was Dana. Such a great time this week just being, she had work stuff, I had work stuff, and no one had to actually quit their lives to make room for the other person. Dana and I go way back. I think you guys saw my post this week that we got to have brunch with our girl Marsha. All of us haven't been in a room together probably like in 8 years. So when you can just pick back up with people and there's like no things and no elephants in the room, like those are bad A friendships, and I think that those are the ones we really have to make sure that we keep the importance of and keep those people around. So in this week, there's some things that have kind of come to the light, and Dana, my girl, man, she knows me before marriage, so it's like Shay BM and then Shay after marriage, Shay AM, and those girls, ladies, have something very similar. Of course, that's the consistency, but the ways that they're played out is very different. And I think that it's funny, for example, when you're prepping for someone to come over your house and it's like, oh, we might have a pile of something here, I might have a pile of something there, and it's like no big deal, you just walk past it, or you see it, don't see it, no big deal. But the minute someone new comes in your house, you're like, oh my gosh, they're gonna spot this or they're gonna spot that. When I was a kid or a teenager and my dad was like, go clean your room, I would clean my room to my satisfaction, and then I'm like, he's gonna come in and spot stuff. So I had to walk out the room, and when I walked back in, the first thing that my eyes went to was what I would go fix. And I would do that as many times as necessary until there was nothing else that my eyes went to, and I'm like, now my room is at my dad's satisfaction. There's some similar things like that when guests come by. You're like, what will they see or spot, because this is a new place to them, so their eyes are gonna pick up all kind of things. Never stopped and thought about, what does that mean for your marriage? There are things that are like mini elephants or mini piles in our marriage, and you know, they just are, or maybe something you're like, stumbled on that, but get to it later. It's just, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, it's not worth it, it's not a big deal. And then someone else comes around and those things that were just stuff that you stumbled over or no big deal, all of a sudden is very clear. It's like they walk out of the room and come in, it's the first thing their eyes go to, but it's within your relationship. That has been an interesting part of the week, and we can talk more about that in the member section, which is coming soon. You'll know what I'm talking about later. But that has been something about this week. But you know, something that also has like sat with me that I don't think I ever paid too much attention to is like how much I miss being around like my people. Like my husband, that's my guy, like my person, no one else on earth. If it was just me and him against the world, I would be totally okay. But because there are other people in our world, sometimes I am not submersed as much into my people and my culture as my husband is with his people and his culture, because we're in his town. This is, you know, his hood, his family, his people. Sit down. sit down. Now, so I'm kind of like the stranger outside coming in, whatever. So whether or not he's around people, he has access to them. But his friends, he only has a few friends sprinkled here and there, and he went to school out of state, so his friends are like dispersed, as are my friends. I'm a Cali native, y'all know, and then went to school out of state in Bowling Green, Ohio, nowhere, and then went back home, and then came to Texas in San Marcos, nowhere, live here now. And so my friends often tend to be people like me who went to school where we were was out of state for them. So my good friends, we have managed to maintain those relationships, but they're all spread out. And sometimes like technology has helped, right? You can bust out a FaceTime or you can be on the phone with them, but it's not the same as being in the company, because when you're in the company, they don't have to be worried. You can just be together and be with each other and vibe and experience that. And so that was really cool about the week. However, it makes me forget sometimes that I miss that. Like when you're in your life and your regular routine, you just go and you just do it, and it is what it is. But when you get a glimpse of it, like someone comes to town, or you know, my mom comes to town, or my dad comes to town, my friends come to town, which are kind of few and far in between spread out, there's this transition space of like, what's my regular schedule and what are they doing and how do we make those fit? That was really cool this week because my friend was still on her own schedule, so we didn't have to really maneuver that time. It's just more like, when are we both done? So let's hang, right? So when other people come to town, they've taken time out of their life schedule. Well, that's a different dynamic because now you kind of have to fill time. But even so, goodbyes are hard. And when they leave, there's like this transition mourning period, if you will, that like my dogs still run to the room looking for those people, and it takes them a few days to get out of it. And then me too, because now I'm like, oh, back to life as normal, which is not a problem. It's just different. And I forget that like, I miss that. I miss being able to just hang out and run to the store. I don't get to just call up my mom and say, hey mom, let's go get this sale, or hey friend, let's go get ice cream. Granted, the friends that are here, I hold them closely, and I also don't accept applications which judge me, but it's like friendships take work and they take maintenance and they don't maintain themselves. So like at this point in life, we don't always want to give new energy to possibly accept new possibilities because we might get disappointed by them, and we still have to maintain all the other relationships that are elsewhere. So I just want to say, throw out a note, in this wife strut, we cannot strut alone, ladies. Have your friends, make sure you maintain those relationships, don't take them for granted, but be open to each other here in this wife community where we can also bridge some of the gap and connect with people who get it. Because just like when your friends come in and your family come in and all that, there's things, like I said, when you go into a room that's kind of spot out and you see in your marriage through the lens of other people, whether it's spoken or silent, and sometimes we don't know who else we can talk to about that. So let's talk to each other. It's just some things that are on my mind. I'm still in the goodbye period because I dropped my friend off, but we'll get through this week and get back to life as normal. I'm here for y'all. Thank you for being here for me. Subscribe, share, like, comment. How do you deal with people being in and out of town and getting into your schedule? What maybe do you see in your marriage through the lens of other people that is not even intentional when they come to visit? And how do you transition once they leave? It's Wife Strut Wednesdays, ladies. Keep your strut going. As always, your strut your way. We're here. You know I'm watching.